Hello friends, my name is Sumit and you're watching CTX Cloud Tech videos. So this is the video number 5 in our VMware training series. So today this is my freshly installed VMware vCenter, and inside this we are going to create our data center clusters and we are going to add our esxi host. So how you can do that? So first of all you have to log into vCenter. So in my previous video I have already shown that. After that you have to go here. This is the page you will get after login. So here you guys have to create a data center. So a data center is basically a boundary where all the esxi and VMware VMs will resides. Okay, so click on new data center, give the data center name. So I am giving CTX Cloud hyphen DC. You can say that data center or DC. So I'm giving like full name DAT data CE enter and click on OK. And you guys can see that I have created one data center here. So inside data center, once you will click inside data center, you guys can see how many hosts, how many virtual machine, how many clusters, how many networks and data store inside this cluster. So as of now, you guys can see that everything is 0 because I have not added any esxi server inside this, and there is no virtual machine running inside this data center. So to add your host, esxi server inside data center, you have to click on right click and add host. So there is two options you guys can configure here. First one is cluster and second one is host. So let's start adding the host into this data center. So click on add. Here you guys have entered your fully qualified domain name of your esxi server or the IP address. So I am using the fully qualified domain of name of my esxi server. So just say that esxi 1.ctxcloud.in. Click on next. Here you have to give the root username and password for your esxi server. So let me give the default username and password. Click on next, and you guys can see the certificate warning here. So you guys can click on yes and click on next. Here you have to option to assign a license on the esxi server, but right now I'm going with my evaluation license, which is for the 60 days. Click on next. Here you have the option lockdown mode. So whenever you select this, so you are not able to manage your esxi server via esxi server console. So I am going to disable this. Click on next. Where you want to put your esxi. So if you have multiple data center, you can select from here, but right now I have only one. So by default it is taking CTX Cloud hyphen data center. Click on next. Click on finish. So you guys can see that there is a progress bar here, and it is trying to add a esxi server. So it's 90% right now completed. So just wait for few more minutes, for few seconds. And once you will expand, you guys can see that I have one esxi server here and one virtual machine is running here, which is my vCenter. So again, if you go into the data center, you can see the complete information about how many esxi host mean esxi server, how many virtual machines are running inside this data center is one, how many network we have configured is one, and how many data store into this esxi server is two. Okay, let me confirm this. Click on esxi server, and once you guys will click on summary, so you guys can see that this is the for CPU, memory, and every information you guys can storage. So storage, we have two data store and physical adapters are four. So all these information you guys can see into this data center. So let me quickly add more esxi server into this data center. Click on add. I'm adding my esxi 2.ctxcloud.in. Click on next. Give the password, root username and password here. Click on next. Click on yes. Click on next. Click on next, next, and finish. So you guys can see that this is my second esxi server is adding here, and you guys can see that this is the second esxi server. So in the same way, I am going my add for esxi server here, esxi 3.ctxcloud.in. Next, click on root, then password. Click on next. Click on yes. Click on next, next, finish. Add one more esxi server is esxi 4.ctxcloud.in. Click on next. Give the password. Click on next. Yes. Next, finish. So you guys can see that I have added 4 esxi server here in my data center, and these esxi 4 esxi 1 2 3 4. So this is the way how you guys can add your esxi servers into the vCenter. Now you don't need to manage all the esxi server by going inside every single esxi server and give the configuration. If you want to change anything on any esxi server, so with the help of this vCenter, you guys can manage all your esxi servers. Okay, so now you guys can see that inside this data center, these esxi servers are performing individually. Means you guys can see that this esxi server have this CPU capacity 13.97 and 16 gigs of RAM. Again, the next one is 16 gigs of RAM and the CPU utilization is 0.1%. So how you guys can combine all the esxi server into a one stack so that all this memory uh, can be bunched and shared among multiple VMs. Okay, for that you guys have to create a cluster. So click on new cluster. I'm giving the name is citrix hyphen prod hyphen cluster. So keep these DRS, HA and vSAN disabled right now. Later on we are going to play these things. So click on OK. So now you guys can see that I have one cluster here. If you guys click on summary, there is no processor, no vMotion enabled here, and there is no, if you go guys will go on host, so there is no host in this cluster. Okay, let me start adding my first esxi server. So you can drag and drop into this cluster and automatically it will go into the first cluster, and you guys can see that one host is added in my citrix prod cluster. And if you guys click on VM, so you guys can see that one VM is running here and one host is here. So if you, let me try to add another host. So now you guys can see that the summary have total 8 processors and the combination of memory into this cluster is 34 GB now. So earlier every host is managing his memory individually, but via adding all the esxi server into a cluster, the RAM and CPU and storage will combine automatically. And after that, whenever you will create more machines on this cluster, so the cluster, whenever we will enable HADRS on this cluster, so it will automatically manage all the RAMs and CPU and even storage automatically. So whenever, let's say in my first esxi server, the RAM is 16 GB and one machine is consuming 12 GB. After that, whenever we will create a new virtual machine into this cluster, so automatically he will shift that machine into a new esxi server, because my first esxi server do not have enough storage, RAM. So this is the beauty of cluster. So let me add other esxi servers here. So you have to simply just drag and drop into the cluster, and now you guys can see that the summary. Let me refresh this, and you guys can see that now the capacity is 64 gigs and CPU is 5587 gigahertz. Now this has been increased. The next one is when you click on host, so you guys can see that there are four hosts added here. 4 esxi server had added in this this cluster, and VMs, there is one virtual machine is running inside this cluster. So this is the end of our this video. So in our next video we are going to create another cluster. After that we will start managing and start configure our esxi servers from the vCenter. So how you guys can manage all the networking, how you guys can manage licensing and all. So from the vCenter we are going to see in our next videos. So just stay connected with the CTX Cloud and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much guys.